Okay, we're recording. So, why don't you just take a minute and walk into a centering meditation, which allows us really to open into the field that we're co creating together and just that interconnectedness that we all share, no matter where we're coming in from around the world. So, we can first start by centering into ourself, and then I'll open that up to include all of us, right? So, we take the one seat, as my friend Cam McKinley always says. She says, we take the one seat, meaning we're coming into centering. And even though we're each uniquely coming into our own presence, we're ultimately opening into that underlying oneness or not two-ness, the underlying essence that we all share. So we can do this with eyes open or eyes closed. And no need to change your position in any way. Just take a moment and feel yourself settling back, maybe doing any last minute movements that would just help you to bring a sense of gentleness, a sense of softness, and a sense of resting. Can we open into this moment just as it is? The sounds that may be coming and going. You open up your field of hearing. We're opening into this sense of pure perceiving or just pure hearing before the mind labels. As you do, you might notice that the sounds are just happening on their own, and there's more of this field-like quality. You might even open into hearing as a more of a sense of vibration, how we can sense sound as vibration in the body or around the body. And let attention turn inward. Meeting the cacophony of sensations that are happening. First, there might be a noticing of thoughts, images. That's just natural. But set them free, unhook attention from them. Let attention wander through the body. There's this underlying aliveness to the body. The stream of sensation of each breath. As the body is breathing. However shallow or deep, might you just join with the stream of inhalation and exhalation. It's this current of sensation. Welcoming the comfortable heaviness or density of the body as it surrenders into the pull of gravity. And then this something else here, just this sense of presence, a witnessing presence to all that's coming and going. First, it might feel like we're being with the changing sensations of breath, body, mind. Notice that, not trying to push anything away. Each can be felt as a distinguishing mark in the body sensorially. But at some point, there might be this subtlest shift from what's changing or what's coming and going. So we shift from being with to just simply being. This underlying essence or presence. It's here, moment to moment. It's like a waiting without waiting. Just an openness. And as we open into a conversation together, you might continue to nourish this or rest as this witnessing presence or this simple ease of being. No need to rush ahead, no need to defend or push away. Just this. So we're opening to what is, and I'm going to come into a bit of a conversation. You might feel free to keep the eyes closed, to keep nourishing, sensing. Or the eyes may spontaneously open. You get to see what naturally wants to move through. So as we're opening here, what we're really exploring already is well, potentially this sense of the void, the sense of openness that equally can be felt, especially this time of year, as the void, as darkness. And it's our mind, I think, that tends to have something to say about it and has projections, and or it might be that the void is arising out of a shift through grief or depression. And I want to be mindful of that too. So I'll flip back and forth in my discussion around a void that can feel very barren and devoid. Is that a word? of life. That's just void of life. But even this, I think, is it's a season that we each go through at some point in our life. There's a beautiful poem about, if only, and I don't, right now, I can't think of who the poet is that wrote it. Maybe somebody will know. But it's basically like, if only we could meet the seasons of our emotion, right? The different seasons of our emotion, the way that we do the seasons of the natural world, then we might be able to be with, right? To open into whatever is moving through us without the need to rush ahead. And that's terribly difficult with depression in particular, or grief. So I'm not coming from a place of Pollyanna. In fact, I'm coming from a place of deep knowing out of a deep darkness of depression, and how overwhelming and quite terrible that can feel, and all-consuming at times. And so with that recognition and honoring that, sometimes it's all we can do to be with what is, isn't it? Because it's very much like it can feel very much like a blanket that's covering over the lightness of our being, if we want to use that metaphor, which we do because it's solstice. I do. But the other thing that's happening is that these are natural movements, no different than the natural world. And there are experiences that, for whatever reason, whether it's completely physiological, hormonal, biological, that brings on a shift in mood, or whether it is through a great loss or death and we're meeting this through grief. These are all natural movements, right? And with the season of winter, of coming into the shortest day of the year, it can also just be the lack of light and the darkness that can just be that natural inward pull, right? But what happens as we open into the inner terrain is that we have a sense of being underground, a sense of hibernating, a sense of cocooning, a sense of turning inward with that pull that comes into a stillness. And that can feel like it comes into a darkness that can feel very much like a void. But just like the season, even though it may be barren, it's outwardly, not showing signs of flowers or green or beauty. It's in this season that everything is, all the potential is underground. All of the energy is underneath. It's, it's there, being nourished, even in its dormancy. That is a part of the phase that we need to meet in order for us to then have the nutrients and the energy to come back out, and for this next movement, whatever that is, to be able to sprout and to grow, right? And it's that then gives us these moments where we're with the unseen and the unknown and the not knowing, and there is this potential of what is yet to emerge. And I think the hardest part is when, especially if we're going through a dark depression or grief or sadness, is finding the trust, right? It feels like it's elusive. that there is something yet to emerge. It can feel like we're being so smothered in the dormancy, but the potential is that the energy is building. And so how can we trust this season of our heart, right? That in such a way that we're willing to be with this and allow this. Even if it's just lethargy or fatigue, and it's not a full-blown sadness or depression or grief. It's just, it can be that neutrality that feels and seems so bland. The blah sometimes can equally be easy for the mind to think there's something wrong with me, right? There's something wrong with me. There might be something very wrong, but that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me. That just may mean that there's something that needs to be tended to. And we may or may not know what that tending to looks like. And isn't that the gift then of inquiry, and that this practice can bring? That we can build the patience and the curiosity and the tenderness to meet ourselves and to trust. Because what I do know from all the years of practice and being with others who are going through their experiences and sitting in meditation as a way to meet themselves, what I do know and what the teachings tell us, but from a real practical true sense, is that everything is an expression of essential nature. Everything. And that means the void and the neutral and the bland and the blah and the painful and the despair and the darkness of the void and the depression and the anxiety, all of it is no less of an expression of our underlying essence than is the joy and the exuberance and the deliciousness and the yumminess and the celebration and the beauty and the wonder. So I think this is a practice, this is a season about trusting, about being with, about honoring, about tenderness and compassion to meet ourselves no matter what's moving through. And that's true in this season, is true in every season, right? So as we learn to be with what is, no matter what that is, and we're not rushing the process, we're living through it so that whatever wants to sprout is going to sprout in its own time. If we could come back to this part of us that, there are times where I focus more on the inner resource and that sense of ground and that sense of okayness, and I'll weave that in too. But today in particular, I'm just being called to share the part of us that is the background that's always here. There's that underlying essence, the witnessing presence, the sense of our existence, our presence that's here, that is truly untouched by the particular mood that's flowing through. It's a deep sense of okayness, and it's not judging, and it's not over analyzing. Those are movements of our mind. And with that can come a sense of rest, a deep rest while we're cocooning and we're opening into waiting for what's going to emerge. And then there's a celebration when that lightness does emerge, whatever that looks like, whatever that expression is going to be. And it does. That is the one truth, is that everything that is of our body, that is of nature, is going to shift and change. That we know. We don't know the timing of it. It can take a lot longer than we want, than our preference would be. But it can be surprising sometimes when the shift emerges. And what we do know for sure is that it will change. And with that can come that integration of our willingness to be with the void, which isn't necessarily, it's our mind that places all the negative projections onto the void, the openness without a lot of content. I want to honor that too, that in our meditation and deep meditation, we may have these periods of opening into what feels like void or nothingness, but a nothingness is something. And if we're with it, we may realize that it doesn't have negative qualities. It's just empty. It's just simply empty. And it can take a while for our system to adjust and to attune to emptiness without all the projections of the mind, And the emptiness may equally then begin to reveal the fullness that's equally here. It ends up being quite the paradox. And through that deep rest and that willingness to move with the cycles and the rhythms of our body of this time, which is about rest. It is about the inward turn. It is about taking stock, reflection, before we'll have that natural movement of energy later. That is that metaphor of light that definitely will want to emerge and come out again. But the trusting and the willingness to open and let that flow in its own way, it can bring some newness that our mind wouldn't have been able to even imagine, right? It's beyond where our mind can go. And it makes life really exciting in that regard, and surprising and beautiful. So that's what's been coming up for me lately, that I felt like would be relevant to share during our time together. But I'd love to hear how this is landing for you, and see if there are any reflections or questions as we're opening into this theme, and how it may be relevant for each of you. Is it resonating, or is there yeah, I got a thumbs up. Thanks.
It's certainly resonating for me. That whole idea of the stillness underlying everything. My elderly father passed away this year, and the one thing that comes to mind was one of the last visits with him, and it was becoming evident that we were getting close to the end, that the circle of life was closing. And it was the first time that I think I had sort of expressed in front of him, right? I was getting a bit teary, and he had to struggle, but he did say, "It's okay, Susan." And just hearing that in his voice, it just really struck me at the time that's, of course it's okay, right? Like, it's okay to be sad, and given all the circumstances, but underneath everything, it's just the way it is, and it is okay. So yeah, what you were saying today really resonated, so thank you.
Oh, thank you for sharing, Susan. What a poignant moment with your father, and what a gift. And what a gift. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. And that is it, isn't it? Sometimes it's so hard to attune to the stillness because the emotion of it all can feel so consuming and it can cover up. But it's like in that moment, what a beautiful gift um, of the recognition of what your father was sharing and what the recognition that was there. Do you know that there's a deep okayness in the midst of this too? And we can be surprised when that reveals itself. And it truly does sometimes. It's like it comes shining forth where there's just this deep, deep okayness and the underlying stillness that this too is a sacred moment, is a special moment, is no less infused than those moments of wonder and delight. Hi, Cam. I think you're muted still, Cam. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Just a brief reflection when you were talking about, the emptiness and fullness. It's just so interesting because they were just both present in equal measure. And then just like I put my attention on one and then on the other. And because that's all we can do is hold our attention on one thing at a time, even though paradoxically, they're both present. It just reminded me in quantum physics of, the particles and the waves. And it's just whichever one the observer happens to look at the time. It was like, so cool. This is just the larger science of reality. And to have this opportunity to just embody that and know that in such a obvious way. So thank you. Just anyway, just a reflection.
Yeah, no, thank you. I really love what you're sharing. And it's true. It's like, then this is what we're doing when we're sitting or when we're walking. We don't have to be sitting, but when we're inquiring and when we're in the inquiry and we're paying attention, it's like we are the laboratory for these deep, deep truths that then reveal themselves if we're willing to. It just takes the moment of pause and the moment of openness and curiosity.
Yeah. And it's not intellectual.
No.
It's like, I don't need to read a book about quantum physics because it's just you can just experience it. It's not an intellectual thing. So cool.
Yeah, indeed. Wonderful. Yeah, Rebecca.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. I'm relatively new to this, so probably going on 8 weeks now.
Oh, now you just got muted, Rebecca. I heard you're going on 8 weeks now, and then you got muted. There we go.
Okay. So basically my therapist introduced me to this site, and I'm trying everything, but I just don't feel anything. Everything feels so empty. But then when you made this statement that even if it just feels empty, that's okay. I just want to see that light, but I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I'm trying. So
Yeah. I'm so glad that you came forward to share it. And I think that where we start is just the paying attention, right? And the willingness to be with even that emptiness and the emotion with it or anything else that comes up with it, right? Anything, memories, thoughts. But what we do with the meditation is we also notice how we feel it in the body. So we're not just staying up here with our thinking mind, which is, it's naturally going to produce thoughts. But as we open into the meditation, we find that there's this somatic feeling, right? The felt sense inside the body. And with that,
Yes.
it may reveal that the other side of the coin, like Cam and when I were just talking about, is a fullness, or it may reveal that the emptiness is just simply empty. But there's potentially something else here, the part of you that's tracking the emptiness, the part of you that's even paying attention, that's seeing behind your eyes, that's kind of like the potentiality for even hearing my words. And we all have this part. And we reference it as being, because it's not our doing, thinking mind, but it's just a part of us that's just kind of resting back and being. And this part of us, which we'll explore here in a minute in the meditation, you might find is really okay, even amidst the emptiness or sadness or any other emotion that might be moving through, that there's another part that's just watching, observing, quiet. It's the subtlest shift. And it's, but the way in is through the body. That's our way in. Yeah. Does that help as a bit of an orientation? Or is that more confusing?
No. Everything you're talking about, I've already discussed as parts and felt sense and all of that. It's just a matter of finding what you guys are talking about. I want to feel it. I want to see it. I want to know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yes. And what I love is that you're sharing is the recognition, because what makes it so important is that I want everybody to find it for themselves, right? Is that we're not just believing somebody because they say it, although, that may be true. I'm speaking my truth, but the whole point is for the experiment and the experience for each of us to find what's true for us. So, yeah. May it be so.
Stephanie, this is Phoenix. I just want to say I appreciate so much, Rebecca, you sharing that. And I think so much of this is, just requires a commitment to a practice, to the practice. Like people say, oh, I can't do it, or I haven't felt it. But it takes practice. It seems to me.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
be compassionate and patient.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Phoenix. And with that practice is that willingness to be with ourselves in just a different way, just a willingness to show up for ourselves with, like you're saying, the compassion and the tenderness. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, how about we?
Yeah, just add also
Let's go with Betty, and then after that, let's have some time for meditation. Yeah.
And Rebecca, also, I appreciate what you've just said. Maybe one more thing, you say, I would love to feel this, maybe no expectations, just be. If you have no expectations, because if you have expectations, you're waiting for it to come and you may be disappointed, but there's nothing wrong. No expectations, and who knows?
Or because when we have expectations, it's hard to, because then there's somebody trying to have no expectations, although I'm with you. Watch our expectations, and then we get to meet that too. Right. And then now, so in the practice, then everything is an expression of this: the longing, the expectation, the seeking, the searching. Those are subtle movements of our sense of self, our personality, or our I thought. So eventually we even have to see those, but how can we welcome those? That, to Betty's point. So we're welcoming everything. And hopefully we have a moment where we're open without expectation and without seeking. But if the expectation is there, we don't want to have another arrow that now there's something wrong with us because we have the expectation, right? We just get to meet that too and notice, okay, what happens in the body when I'm just here with expectation? And every single movement then can be a pointer back to this part of us, this underlying essence that then is this sense of being that's underlying this too. Just the witnessing presence. So everything is a gift then, ultimately. Some we prefer over others. Some of them we'd rather recycle them. But it's a radical self-acceptance that we're doing here. And watching the expectation, you're right. And then how can we either set that free or meet it as another movement? All right, well, this has been wonderful. Thank you all for your sharing. And let's bring this all in as we come into our longer sit together. Yeah. So you can keep your cameras on or you can turn your cameras off, whatever you would prefer. So you might take a moment and just notice what's here after our conversation together. What are the underlying thoughts that are bubbling up in your thinking mind, or the mood that's here? You're just taking that inner weather report and setting that all free to be here just as it is. The thoughts that naturally come and go, or the memories or images, the particular mood. And for a moment, can you just set them free? Like they're a wisp of smoke if you've blown out a candle. And feel yourself more as this witnessing presence, or just this quality of being, where you're very much like the space of the room. You're just resting here. You might notice and bring a gentle swallow inside your mouth, just the quality of simply tasting without needing to name a particular taste in your mouth. The sounds of the room around you, or my voice that's coming and going without the need to label sound. It's just happening within this greater field of your presence. Simply hearing. And the inner eyes, seeing if the eyes are open, you might let them find a place to softly land. So you have a gentle gaze that's soft, so that the inner gaze can still be happening, inner focus. And if the eyes are closed, how there might be shadow or light behind the eyelids. And then the whole body, can you just sense the whole body globally? The subtle undulation of the body being breathed with each breath. And all the sensations that make up the body, pulsations, tingling. You feel its aliveness, this underlying life force that's just animating the body and living through you. Touching in, what's your intention for this practice, for these next few moments of meeting yourself in this way? What would you like to open into or let go of? And affirm it as a truth now, and just notice how it lands in your body as sensation. And welcoming in, once again, just your very presence. This ease of being or witnessing presence. How you can touch into a deep sense of okayness or quality of ground. Or an underlying stillness, quiet. If it helps to bring to mind a special place or people or animals that support you to feel this deep sense of okayness, peace, quiet, welcome them in. Then let the images fall away and just stay with the felt sense. This touchstone of peace or well-being, or just this ease of being, this deep okayness. How it's here moment to moment, available. And how the sense of just your very presence, this ease of being, isn't it always been here? Just notice maybe there's a softness in the heart or the belly, or some other felt sense as you're just resting in this sweet sense of peace, deep okayness. This openness of being. And welcome sensations of each breath just inside the nostrils. Pure sensation of inhalation, exhalation. Sense the mouth, ears, eyes, the whole head. Follow the flow of the exhalation all the way to its end. It's like a stream of sensation. Reveals a momentary pause, stillness of being. And then the stream of sensation of the inhalation. Feel it. It washes through the body. Join with the inhalation all the way to its fullness. It too reveals a moment of stillness. And then the unfolding of the energy of the exhalation. And with each exhalation, perhaps welcoming in sensations from the shoulders to the fingertips. During inhalation, just staying with sensation wherever you find yourself. Exhaling, sensation opening, streaming through the arms and hands. Sensing the whole torso then, welcoming inner walls of the chest, front and back, left and right. Feel your way. Each exhalation with the stream of sensation, let it reveal more and more of the felt sense deep inside the torso. Each inhalation, just pausing, just staying with sensation just as it is. All the way down through the hips, legs, and feet. Let them come alive as sensation. The whole body, like a shimmering or an effervescence. The top of the inhalation might divide the body left and right with an imaginary line, exhaling the whole left side of the body, like enliven a sensation and perhaps even opening out into the space to the left and beyond. Inhaling the space feeling, permeating the body feeling. And during the pause, let sensation cross the midline, and during the exhalation, let it saturate the whole right side of the body out into the space and beyond. Inhaling space feeling, suffusing the body feeling to your own rhythm, left and then right. Some point there might be a shifting from left and right to front and back. Top of the inhalation, allowing sensation to cross the midline and saturate the whole backside of the body. Body sensation opening out into the space, feeling back behind. Inhaling space, permeating body feeling. During the pause at the top, just this simple ease of being. Sensation crossing the midline, saturating the whole front side of the body. Opening into the space out in front. Again, your own rhythm. Front and back. All the while, this underlying stillness, top of the inhalation, let all the imaginary lines dissolve, and on the exhalation, opening out in all directions, front, back, left, right, above, below. Feel the openness, this field-like quality. It's very spacious. Stillness of being. Deep okayness. So resting as being, there may be a sense of the body, of form, its vibration, sensation, but equally an emptiness, a formlessness that's here. See what's true. Now the mind may add on a particular emotion to emptiness. Perhaps a sadness or a preference for it to be here or not to be here. Just notice if that's true. If there is a particular emotion, you might notice how it lights up as sensation in the body. There's a contraction or a smoothness. It's dull or piercing. We peel back the label and we just meet it as a felt sense. Any images that may come along with it, beliefs. We're not analyzing, just simply allowing it to be here. Being with. Knowing you can touch into the inner resource at any time. And recognizing that there is this quality of just simply being. Perhaps it's been in the background, but this part that is a witnessing to all that's coming and going. What's the felt sense of this witnessing presence? This observing awareness. Letting yourself rest more and more as this background stillness. Witnessing presence or awareness itself. This quality of your being witnessing, awareness, how it is beyond any lack or need. It's perfect just as it is. Deeply, deeply okay, just as it is. Just as you are. Something here that's spacious, timeless. And this essence is how it's empty, but vast and spacious. So it's equally full, how everything is arising in this spacious awareness, or this field-like quality of witnessing presence. One way you can sense out in all directions, it's not just the body that's arising, but everything in the room around you and outside of the room, the fullness, how it's infused with this underlying essence. And there's nothing to push away. Preferences may arise and dissolve. Just open into this moment, just simply meeting what is. If there's a sense of void or underground, can you open into the dormancy, but yet the potential of the unseen, something here that is not yet known. And perhaps a deep okayness of not knowing. So it might bring with it a tenderness and a curiosity. The capacity to deeply rest. You can let go here and be held in this deep stillness, this deep okayness. In the empty fullness. And then welcoming, knowing that the personality will come back online quite naturally, how it's an expression of this underlying essence of this quality of being or witnessing presence that's here, how it expresses itself through you. And imagine yourself moving back into the rest of your evening or your day, knowing you can tap into this witnessing presence, this ease of being and this stillness, and empty fullness that it brings at any moment. And as the body and the mind start to come back online and the senses come back online, you might touch back into perhaps an intention that may be here. It might be the intention that was here at the beginning of the meditation, or it may be a new spontaneous intention, a commitment that you wish to make as you move back into life. Honoring each moment just as it is, all that it brings. Even and especially the not knowing. So take all the time you need to come back. And that may be after we finish up our time here today. I want to thank all of you who were able to stay on. I did go over a bit because we started a little bit later with our longer meditation. So I want to be mindful of your time. It's about 10 past the hour. But thank you. Thank you for all of your shares and for opening into the unknown together and honoring what is. And may this service, as we're all opening into whatever season we find ourselves. And I'm just so grateful for this community and for each of you. And I'm wishing you all a beautiful end of year, solstice, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, all the New Year's, all the things. And the inward turn that we're all taking in every moment. May it nourish you so you can come out and just live each moment with this deep sense of gratitude and peace, my friends. So I look forward to next month. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Take care, everybody. Yes.